So we're going to remove the CD unit from a Saab 9-3 2004. So the first part you got to do is remove the climate control unit, and this is fairly straightforward. It's good to have like a plastic tool like this, kind of come in on the side and just kind of pry it out. There you go. And then you could do it on the other side as well, or just kind of work it from the same. And now we're going to disconnect the connector here. And the way you disconnect this connector, basically kind of just pull this part out, and as you pull it out on the connector, see, it comes out completely. So this is the unit now. So the unit, the CD unit, is essentially this part and this on the top. So the way it's connected in here, you're kind of gonna have to look here. There's this little metal piece here, and you have to push it this way. And you have to do the same thing on the other side, which is here. Push it in this way. So now it's good if someone helps you and kind of holds one side here like this. And then you just go in with your hand and you pull out the unit. So as I pull this out, you'll see what I'm talking about. So here are those clips that were kind of holding the CD unit in. So now as we're pulling this in, there are cables attached in the back. And I put the car also in reverse, so I have a little bit extra space. But there you go. This is how you get the unit out. And then you essentially, you disconnect the connector. So this is the antenna part here. And let's see how this disconnects. There you go. So here's the big connector. That's how the big connector disconnects. So I have to just push this lever back. And this one here, it's a bit hard to see. Let's see how this disconnects. It's probably just pushing down here. There you go. You pull this out. So I pushed on this piece here. And the last piece is the antenna. And the antenna appears to be catching right here. So you'd have to push on this down. There you go. And that removes the CD unit. Okay, so we got the radio and the CD unit out. As you can see, it's actually two separate units. So we're really trying to solve a problem with the CD. And the CD is not either taking the CDs in the CD player or ejecting them. But the easiest way to do this is, while you could get the CD out probably separately, it's easier to just separate and take the radio out as well. So from the housing here. So I'm removing 4 screws here. Excuse me, 3 screws on each side. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. So you zoom in here, you basically got to start with the middle one here. And remember, this was the clip that was holding the CD and the radio in the vehicle. And those 2 screws now just hold the radio in. There we go. So this should allow us now to remove the radio, separate it. There you go. That's what's holding it here still. There you go. So that's the radio. We're not doing anything with the radio. That's the connector on the back and the antenna. So the next thing we're doing is we're gonna remove the CD player from this housing that both the radio and the CD were in. So you do this by, if you have a proper tool, you could go through here and pull just the CD out potentially, assuming that the cables would go along. But you know, the approach I took, I think, is easier. So we're taking the tension off here. We'll do the same on the other side. And that allows us to basically separate the CD from the housing. There you go. And so the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to remove the front plate. In order to do that, it's clipped in. The plastic just clips in here. There are 3 plastic notches, and then there's one at the bottom here. So we're going to just start with this one while we're at it. And be careful not to break the plastic. So here's one. And the other part also is on the sides, the plastic, the plastic face of the CD player is attached with the screws. So here's one. And then on the other side, I've noticed that this one's broken already, so I'm not gonna even mess around with it. But looks like that got damaged during its use. So here we go. So now we're gonna try and get this out as well. So here's 1, 2, and the third one. So now as you pull this off, it just simply comes off like this. If we kind of zoom into this connector here connects to the main board of the CD player, and it's really, I mean, the main purpose is just to is the eject button. There's probably possibly some LEDs behind it, but really that's the main purpose in this particular case. So let's move to the next step now. And the next step is now to take the top cover off. So the top cover is attached just with 2 screws here. So let's get this off. So here's one. And then the next one. I'll turn around so you can see it better. There you go. And then the cover kind of is, if you can look in here, it's kind of pushed in, so it's kind of self-locking mechanism. It's going to take a little bit of work to get this out. There you go. This side kind of went easy. But basically kind of just got to work your way around it. Nothing too fancy, fairly straightforward. There you go. Let's see if I can get this in the back too. There you go. Kind of this area here as well. There you go. So that removes the top cover. So this gives you access essentially to the CD drive unit itself. Just for completeness sake, I'll just quickly show you. This is the power supply. Yeah, so the power management portion of the player. Just quickly take it apart so you can see what's going on here. It's attached with 2 screws here at the top. There you go. And then 2 more at the bottom here. Here's 1, 2. And then 2 more here, and this is basically the heat sink, is what it looks like. So remove this one and this one. There you go. So that's the heat sink part. So if you look at that, those are some of the semiconductors there that are part of the power management for the drive. I had 1 screw kind of fell in here, so I got to make sure I find it before it gets lost. Yep, it's stuck in there. Let me push that out of the way now so it's not forgotten. But if you look at this here, the connector, if you kind of zoom into this, so the connector has 4 pins and then 2 optical units here as well. So it looks like the 4-pin connector is solely has power, and only 2 pins are used for positive and negative. It goes back to the 12-volt battery. And then the optical cables here are, one for, so simplex communication, one for outbound, one for inbound. And that's the only function of this portion of the board. And then this connects to the main board that is separate from the, the drive itself. And I think this is the part that pairs then specifically with your vehicle. So for example, if you'd have a completely destroyed mechanical portion of the drive, the assumption is you could take from your old drive this board, put it into the replacement drive, let's say you get from a donor car, and then take a working mechanical part and get it working. So just a thought about one of the approaches. But what we're going to try and do is fix the drive here. So the item we got to do is, it was attached here and here. That's one part of how the drive is being held, and then the other part is those 2 screws here in the front. So here's one and the other. Right. So this now allows us to lift the drive. So you got to be careful how you lift it, because it's attached here with the ribbon cable. Let me flip this over this way. So it's important how you do that. And then the way you remove the ribbon cable is you pull this to those 2 little, and it had enough tension that it just came off. So let's just look for a moment here at the main board. So this is the main board here. It's got some sort of a controller, some used to communicate back, and looks like some of the smaller chips here. Probably some of them could be storing the data that pairs with the main unit, but that's not the focus of the repair. But again, if you have a donor CD unit, you could try this, replacing this if all else fails for you. So I'll put this aside now. We're going to focus on the actual drive here now. So if you look at the drive, and let's there's 2 motors here. One's here. It's used for both ejecting and getting the CD back in, and then the other one is for spinning the actual CD once it's in there. In addition to this first motor for ejecting and getting the CD in, it's also got like a mechanism here that allows you to move the laser, and that's the laser component here. So we'll use this this motor here as part of testing once we do the repair here. But I want you to let's zoom into right this area here. And this is what's the problem typically is, if you look here, this plastic broke off here. So what's happening is, as those gears are spinning, it's actually pushes this plastic out and it's skipping, and you got that skipping sound as it's trying to either pull in the CD or eject the CD if the CD is stuck in there. So that's the problem. The other part is I'm at least not aware here in the US where you would get the replacement plastic for this. So we're gonna do a little bit of a repair trick here on this one. So that's one part. The other part to look for is, if you kind of zoom in here and look at this here. So there's a roller here, the gray one. And this is the roller that pulls in the CDs, and this roller is rotated via those gears here. So that's the other part you could look at if you got a problem here. Typically there's a small gear down here, takes quite a bit of disassembly here, and that particular gear sometimes needs to be replaced. So I think the problem we got with this radio is obviously over here, or excuse me, with this CD player. So let's fix this part first, and then we'll move on to the testing part. Right, so let's remove this screw now here. So I'm removing this. I'm going to need the pliers here. There you go. So that's the screw. And then here's the plastic that's broken. You can see here. And the plastic fell out. Let's see if we can push it through. There you go. So here's the plastic piece that broke. So what I went ahead is, or the approach I'm going to take here is I'm going to use a different screw here, and I'm going to kind of support this with a bracket. So let's find the right screws next. But before I do this, the part we're going to also have to do is when we do the testing, we're going to apply the voltage directly to the motor here. So I'm disconnecting again this ribbon here. Kind of zoom in here so this works. There you go. So push this out, and then you disconnect the ribbon. The part I want you to notice here now is, as I disconnected this ribbon, if you look at the cabling here, you've got the green wire and the orange wire, and those go to this motor here. So that's where we're going to be applying the voltage to, and it's a DC voltage. We'll put somewhere around 6 to 8 volts to it, and this will, depending on which polarity we use, it's gonna rotate one way or the other. And then the other part we can test also is the black and red here. You see goes to the drive that spins the actual CD, so we can test that. And then you got 3 more wires here. So those 3 wires, I'm going to flip the unit around, connect over to this, and typically there's a light, an LED of some sort in there, and a light sensitive semiconductor that basically detects that you inserted a CD into it, and then engages the motors, the electronic. And then if you kind of look at this just from a basic circuit perspective, so there's also some switches here that kind of determine the position as the various components move. Obviously this one you see is depressed already because it's detecting that the laser is in its position, the most inward position. And then let's go back to this part of the circuit. As the ribbon connects here, as you can see, this goes now, the wires here going to the main connector board, and this, if you recall, connected then to the main board that was part of the the Saab radio there. And then the other wires here go primarily to the circuit here. So the reason why I'm pointing this out is there's not much of a logic circuitry here that would cause you not to be able to swap out just the drive if you can get a hold of the drive. That is your brand new working drive, and you should be able to replace just this unit if you have access to it without having to deal with the pairing issues. So that's this now. Next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is go look for a screw that's going to fit in here. So we'll pause here for a second. Right, so I found some screws here. So this is the original one here. If you look at it, it's going to be a little bit hard to see. Here's one, basically the same size. I'm not sure where it came from, but it could be that it came from a hard drive. So this one, and then this one here, I think this is what I'm going to go ahead and use. I'm going to use this as a little piece that will create a spacer, and then a washer. And I'm going to also use this. I think this was probably a piece that was for some electric part in some that I must have taken apart. But in either case, if you don't have that at home, go to a store like Ace Hardware if you're in the U.S. or an equivalent in the rest of the world, and then find basically the same type of thread screw. So as you can see, the one I'm using is longer. You'll understand in a second here why. So the other part I'll also do is, and this is optional, I'm going to add some Loctite to the bottom thread. And let me put this back on right away. Let's see. We're dealing with small parts now. So let's do the Loctite thing here now. So this is just, you know, since we don't want this to, there you go. That's all we need. So here's Loctite on it. So let's put that spacer in now. So this is going to be fun since it's small parts. So let's grab this. And we're putting it here. And remember, I removed the plastic that was broken in there, so I'm lining this up right above the hole. All right, and now I'm gonna put in the screw, but I gotta find my there you go, the screwdriver. Here it is. So here we go. Let me try and go here. There we go. I'm gonna put this on right now as well. Let's see. Nope. It's looking problematic right now. I don't know if I missed the spacer or not. We'll see right now. There you go. There you go. I tightened this. And this is not a problem because there's nothing is touching this area here. So if you look kind of at an angle here right now, we got the spacer in. It's down here. And then the washers, and I've used this one to give me just a little bit of extra space, push down on the plastic. So now if I go in here and try and lift the plastic again, it's no longer possible, right? So it was just, you know, original manufacturer. I think it was Clarion, you know, based on what I've seen on some of the stuff on the internet. Should have just put a stronger plastic here. So this is it now. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is test if this works. So I'll pause here for a second, and then we'll hook up the power to it. All right, so I've got the power supply ready here. Obviously you don't have to do this, but it helps, you know, before you assemble stuff. So I set it to 7.9 volts here. So that's between those two leads here. So if you recall, I was telling you that this motor here spins the CD. So if I pry, and remember I disconnected this ribbon, right? So I'm not powering anything back to the circuit, solely the motors. So if I touch this, you can hear the motor spinning, right? So obviously that's working. Now the issue powering this up is, this is upside down, and obviously this is not a normal position for this unit to work. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to extend this ribbon, and remember this motor here is connected to the orange and green. So those two, so that's the outer two. So if you kind of follow me here as I'm rotating this, that means that those are the two, the outer two are the two leads we gotta connect to. So, but in order to test now, I'm gonna insert the CD here. Let's see, we're gonna kind of rotate so you can follow this on the camera. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong side. We're gonna insert the CD here. So this is our test CD. And I just gotta figure out if I'm gonna put the right polarity on it. So we'll see what happens. So here's one. Okay, so that was the polarity to eject the CD. So let's go the other way. So I'm again attaching it here. And so here we go. There you go. So it's in. So remember, I have red here on the outer one. So let me show you what happens now since the CD is in already. So red was on the what's green. Let me rotate it this way. So as I apply power here, watch what happens to the laser here now. So it went to the outer position. Let me go back. I've reversed the polarity now. So So that's how the laser moves now. And once this motor comes all the way to the end, then the mechanism changes and starts rotating those gears to kick the CD out. So let's test this one more time. So now I'm gonna have black on the outside, right? There you go. And we got the CD out. So let's put it back in. One more test. There you go. So that's in. We can even test spinning the CD. So here we go. Oops. Got to do the correct polarity. So there you go. So that's it. So now we're gonna assemble everything. I'm gonna eject the CD, you know, before I assemble the entire thing. So let's do that. See, the CD is still spinning. So let's apply power here. There you go. So the CD is out. Let's proceed now with the assembly. Right, so assembly is really the reverse here, so you just got to remember not to forget any parts. So let's reattach the ribbon cable here. So this ribbon, if you remember, was going to the motors. There you go. So that one's done. And make sure that the ribbon goes underneath this here, you know, similar to how this one goes underneath as well. So that's it for the drive itself. Now we're gonna go back to this, to the main unit. We're gonna rotate it correctly and then attach this ribbon cable to it. So I'm gonna make sure this is all out. There you go. This one's a little bit trickier to do. There you go. There you go. Make sure that those are pushed in all the way. There you go. So now, if you recall, you go back in and then you have to make sure that this part here lands in those sockets here, if you look at this here. And then we'll attach the drive with 2 screws in the front. Those are the smaller of the 2. So here we go. So here's one, number 2. There you go. So the drive's attached here now. Let's do the power unit that we didn't have to take apart again, just to complete this part here. There you go. So here it is. Let's put those 4 screws in. Here's one. We'll tighten them in the end. 2. That would have been 3. So here's 3. And let's do number 4. Okay, so I'm gonna, at this point, add the heatsink. So here's the heatsink. And now we're going to just tighten all those. 1, 2, 3, and the last one, which is number 4. Okay, so now the next part we got to do is put the cover back on. So here we go. And remember, those were kind of the little notches that kind of go in like this. So just push it in. And then the same in the back. Same on this side. And then we just put those screws in. So here's one. And the other. There we go. And now we're gonna add the front panel to it. So here we go. So remember, this goes over the top here. 1, 2, 3. And then on the bottom, just clips in. There we go. And remember, that was the screw that was already broken. There you go. So now we're gonna just insert it back into this. Remember, this part attaches here. So just slide it in there. There you go, locked in. Add the radio to it. There you go, radio attaches like this. So those holes got to line up here. And we'll start with those screws. Let's see if we're lined up well. There you go. Here's one. Two. And then the spring. There you go. And remember, this the longer part is facing forward, right? So it's one side, and then just repeat the same on the other side, essentially. And the last piece. So those are two little notches that kind of hold it horizontally, those here. I can verify we did the same thing here. So that completes the assembly. Right, so the last step we're going to do now, we're going to install the radio. So we're hooking up the antenna here. So the antenna is on. Then we're connecting the CD unit here, which is the bottom connector. If you zoom in a little bit, there you go, the CD unit's connected. And then the last piece we're connecting here is the main connector to the radio part. There you go. And we kind of just use this. There we go. I'm going to slide it in partially. in. And then we're gonna push this in as well. And now it's time to test it. Okay, so that sounds good. We're gonna do our little test here. So it takes the CD in, it ejects the CD. Let's put it back in, and we'll. So let's turn the fan off so we can hear things, and run the disc now. And there's the disc playing. So there you go, that completes the job.